Hey, what's going on, everybody? Game Geezer here. I just wanted to do a quick little video to give you guys the gist on the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and the iPhone X. I've been following the phone, and it's a little confusing because people were probably wondering, like, well, what about the 7S and the 7S Plus and all that stuff? I'm just going to go through the big news that was released today, finally, about the iPhone 8, iPhone X. So these are three separate phones. So there is going to be an iPhone X, an iPhone 8, and an 8 Plus. So I doodled some stuff here so I don't forget. So basically, the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus are going to be available for pre-order on September 12th. And they should be released September 22nd. Or, no, I'm sorry. That was actually wrong. That was September 15th. Today was the day they talked about it. So September 15th. So just excuse that. Yeah, these are both supposed to be the 15th. So September 15th, you can start your pre-ordering for the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. And they're going to drop on the 22nd. So you can go pick them up 22nd. That's when they should come out to you for the 8 and the 8 Plus. The 8 and the 8 Plus are going to have the traditional style. On the phones, they're going to be just basically what you would see on the 7 and 7 Plus right now. As far as performance difference, there's going to be a huge buff for the processor and a pretty big buff for the GPU. GPU, I think, is going to be 30% faster, and the CPU, I think, is going to be like 40 or 50% faster because it's going to have a 6-core in them, and all three are going to have the same, GPU and CPU specs. So it really doesn't matter if you get an X or an 8 as far as speed, but the real difference we'll talk about later. So for the iPhone 8, it's going to start at $699, 8 Plus $799. Now there is a slight difference between the 8 and the 8 Plus besides just size and storage. You're going to get also a slightly better back camera on the Plus. So that's just a little side note. If for some reason you don't mind either one and you're like, well, what's the real difference? You get a slightly better camera on the 8 Plus and a bigger screen and junk like that. So the camera's a little better in the back on the 8 Plus than the 8, and then of course you pick your storage. Now if you're wanting to get the iPhone X, pre-orders are supposed to start October 27th and be picked up November 3rd. Now they officially call it the iPhone X because it's their 10 years thing going on now, and it's supposed to start at $1,000 for this phone, and it's going to be in only two sizes from what they said, 64 gig or 256. So the rumor of the 512 is, I guess they changed their mind or whatever. But anyway, so the phone, all the mock-ups you've seen on YouTube about how the phone is going to look with the ears and stuff, that is all true. That is legitimately how the phone looked on the Apple when they did their conference today. So anyways, so the phone is going to look like they said. It's not going to have a home button anymore. It's not going to have the Touch ID or any of that stuff like the 8 and the 8 Plus. They're still going to have Touch ID. What's going to make the iPhone X basically stand out from the rest of the phones now is the camera system they're going to put up in the top where the cutout is. Basically, all the phone is basically raving about, besides CPU and GPU increase, is going to be all based on this camera. So that's where all the money is going to on this phone, is the camera. The camera is going to be the big point, and that's because it's not just a camera in there. It's got depth perception now and infrared and all that stuff, so it can sense how far things are, and it can scan your face much more efficiently. So that's how they're going to implement Face ID now. So instead of having a button, it can really, it can tell how far back your face is and all that stuff. So it can read depth now. And that's going to open a whole wave of new apps, like their new emojis that can imitate your face, and you can send an emoji like a poop emoji that looks like something you're doing or saying to somebody. And it's pretty cool. But basically, that's their main selling point of this new phone, is they're focusing on the special camera technology that's inside. And you got people who are making apps, like 3D apps and stuff that use the camera system, and since they have that depth perception in there, The apps are going to function more efficiently and just all around be more fun and pleasant to use. So that's basically the gist of the iPhone X. It's all really about that camera. Honestly, I've been following these phones very closely because I've been honestly looking for something to replace my LG Flex, and I've had this phone forever, and I just haven't really found anything that wowed me. So I've been really paying close attention to the iPhone X to see if it was really worth moving over to. So I'm definitely not really that interested in the iPhone 8 or the 8 Plus, even though it's got a speed buff. I'm probably going to just stick with my Flex or even repair this iPhone 6 I have laying here that just needs a screen, and I'll just run off that for a little while. But I'll wait for the iPhone X. But as of right now, I'm not too impressed with the iPhone X. It didn't really have any features that wowed me. It's mostly just, like I said, about that camera setup that they got. And it's really cool. I mean, the Face ID is cool, but I don't really care about security on my phone. I leave my phone unlocked all the time. I mean, my phone is glued to me, and I never have issues. I mean, so I'm not really worried about the Face ID or any of that stuff. The camera system seems really cool. I do appreciate that this is able to record in 4K 60 FPS, which is pretty nice, or 1080p 240. So you can take super slow-mo videos in 1080p and stuff like that, or nice crispy 4K video footage, which is pretty cool. So basically this is all about the camera. So it's going to give you more crispy photos, super slow-mo videos, all that stuff. And then, like I said, the depth perception. So maybe someone will come out with some cool apps. I know Snapchat's already made apps, been working with Apple, so they've got, if you like Snapchat a lot, the depth perception camera on this is so efficient at sensing your face and the depth and everything that Snapchat is really clean and crisp. So when you use those filters, it's like extremely accurate now. It doesn't, it doesn't really mess up quite as often. And until we get one to actually play with, I can't, tell you how true that is. But from what I saw in the tech demos, it was extremely flush. When they put the masks and stuff on the people, it looked pretty legit. So I would say that would be what you can expect from the iPhone X, besides the speed buff. Now you are going to get a pretty good speed buff because, like I said, all three of these are going to come with 6-core CPUs, and those GPUs are going to get like a 30% buff. So also on that 6-core, at certain task points, it's able to utilize all 6 cores in a phone, which is pretty extreme. And it also has 2 top-end speed cores that run most of the time. So it's going to be a very, very quick phone, which is nice. But I mean, we expect that. Every couple of years you expect a speed buff of some kind, at least 10 to 15% gain. This is going to be a pretty noticeable gain as far as performance on these chips. So that would be something I would look forward to, if you're concerned about that. You're going to get a pretty good buff moving over to any 3 of these phones. But anyways, I just wanted to throw this video together for some of y'all who are just like, you just want a quick, give me the gist. So I kind of got the gist of it. So again, just ignore that. September 15th, pre-orders. September 22nd, you get your phone. October 27th, November 3rd, you get the phone. Trying to think of anything else. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head, but this is basically the gist of the 3 new phones you can expect. I didn't go into higher detail because I want to keep the video short, all that stuff. I didn't go and get like sizes, gigabytes, and all that junk. That's all personal. I guess a side note that I would mention is if you are considering getting a higher storage phone, there is a slight performance gain when you get the higher storage iPhones versus the lower storage ones. The memory rate speed at which it reads is slightly better, but your average user is not going to notice it. But just something I had to throw out there if you're like a really big spec person and you're just really curious on like what's what, that is a thing apparently. So there you have it. iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and iPhone X. All 3 of those are going to hit pretty soon, and you can watch people on that. Me personally, I'm going to wait for the X and scope that one out, but after basically watching the X and how it's all around, really revolving around the camera, I'm not as excited as I was. all the money I would spend on the iPhone X, I would rather probably honestly fix my 6 and then get some fancy computer upgrades or something at home. But we'll see. I might still pick one up. If you guys want to sub and stuff, and I end up getting one, I will do a detailed video. You can ask me questions, and I will perform whatever question it is. Because, you know, reviewers, they just do whatever they do. They review it. They just talk about blah, blah, blah. Look at the screen. Look at this. Look at that. But if you ask me a question, you sub and all that stuff, I will physically do that thing on that phone. So you can go ahead and sub if you want. I'm most likely going to pick up an X. I'm still kind of on the fence about it, but if I do, and you guys have questions, I will do whatever, like test certain apps or whatever it is that you're curious about, because everyone has their own thing, you know. Maybe something that, scenario that no one thinks about because they're not in that position. But anyways, guys, so this is just a quick video on the iPhones for anybody who's been like, just give me the gist. So here you go. Have a good one.